Lily's brother died suddenly in a bicycle accident. She shares the challenges and the skills that she and her parents learned, told eloquently and with inspiration.
His friend said he just saw him go off of the roadway onto the roadway below on his bike. And he died of like internal injuries. I think that he died upon hitting the roadway below. A driver later said that he had like tried to avoid, my brother's body and the bike on the road. So like by the time he got to the hospital, he was dead. I think that he was dead on arrival. I knew it was really bad. I mean, for a second I thought like maybe we're going to the hospital to see him or something. I didn't really know. And I came downstairs and my parents were outside and they were like, white-faced and like, I don't know, that look of like total shock and no smiling at all, no like, just totally dead. My dad sort of like took charge and said, let's get in the car, let's go back to the house. And we went back to the car and we drove to my parents' house. And the three of us were just kind of like, everything was going in slow motion. We all got into my parents' bed. I remember saying like, I don't want us to be one of those families that has like a dead family member that we never talk about because we don't want to hurt each other's feelings or we don't want to like bring it up, we just want to forget. And well, Sam was very smart and very independent, and I really looked up to him throughout my life. He was the older brother and he got away with a lot, and at the same time my parents were a lot harder on him than they were on me. He was the firstborn, I think that's typical. But when I say he was independent, I mean he didn't really do things to please my parents, and he sort of did what he wanted to do, and I always admired that. He used to rollerblade around the neighborhood, and he always had like a gaggle of younger boys that followed him around, and I think they all looked up to him too. The last semester of high school he sort of just stopped going. He decided he didn't want to go anymore, he just wanted to be out skating. So he sort of dropped out and got in really big trouble for that. Engineering, he switched around from mechanical to electrical to computer a bunch of times. In the end, I think, his passion was always computers. And right before he died, he got this great job at a company called, I forget the name of the company, but then they got acquired by Google. So I went to his office and he had this rec room where the employees would go on their breaks and play ping pong and whatever, hang out. And he was working on really exciting programs and coding or whatever they do in the computer world, but it was like the perfect environment for him. He was getting paid well, he was happy, and he got that job only like 3 months before he died. So thought that I was a goody two-shoes. And I kind of thought that he was like a punk, and why couldn't he just do what people wanted him to do sometimes. So it was more like my father, and he was more like my mother. Dad really pushing him harder and being really hard on him. And I thought that that was a typical father-son relationship, because I later learned that that was the relationship my father had with his dad. We were like best friends. Before we used to like mess around and tease each other and stuff, but we were really close. I told him things I didn't tell my parents, and he did too, and we would like go out in the neighborhood together, and I always invited him out with my friends, and I knew his friends, and we were like really good friends. When my dad was hard on her, my mom played like the good cop, sort of. Although she was hard on him too. When he stopped going to school, she was having none of that. But all of this is relative to my father, who's like very gregarious and open, and social. My brother and my mom were sort of like on the more timid side. I think I'm like, I have both of them, but I'd say I'm more like my father. Yeah. I immediately was like, I need to start running, I need to start doing things for my body to like keep myself healthy and keep my chemicals, you know, in the right place. And I think we all sort of found our own ways of coping. Like my mom started playing a lot of tennis. She became a tennis freak. And I started doing a lot of yoga, and I went to graduate school. I guess these are distractions. My dad started really focusing a lot on work and playing a lot of golf. I would say this is a piece of really good advice that I got from a friend who lost her brother also. She said, you know, be honest with yourself about what you need and be honest with other people, you know, because you should be selfish and you should be indulgent and, you know, don't be hard on yourself about feeling sad or feeling confused or feeling angry all the time. I think that I've been coming to this realization recently too, that I'm like more focused on myself and on doing what makes me happy and you know, being with people that make me happy or that I love, and less focused on obligations or expectations